All right, guys. Our next guest is a friend of the program who's been on from the very beginning, a former UFC and Strikeforce champion. He prepares one of his best friends for his final UFC fight this weekend in the main event, UFC 252. Whether he's fighting zombies on the street, wrangling bulls, playing in movies, or being the face of Polo Blue, this man is always killing it. It's a pleasure to welcome Luke Rockhold back to Submission Radio. Luke, thanks so much for taking the time with us, man.
Always a pleasure, boys.
Yeah, man. It's great every time you come on the show. Now, I got to ask, the last time you were on the show, you told us a wild zombie story, and it really blew up. Any zombie attacks since the last time we spoke to you? We want to make sure that our Luke Rockhold is safe. No more zombies.
No zombies, but I'm gonna reserve myself on the stories. there might have been some thugs and might have been a break-in, but we're good.
Ah, now you're teasing us, Luke. Was there a break-in?
No, I'm good. It was handled.
Okay.
Jeez, you can't just mention there was a break-in and thugs. You're like Death Wish over here, just destroying all these bad guys. Was it a break-in into your house, or was it when you were over? We saw you were over there in Montana and Wyoming, over there at Yellowstone. Was it around? Were a few cowboys trying to break into your cabin or something? What was going on?
Definitely not. There's too many good people out there. That wasn't the case.
I feel like the zombie lady just is trying to track you down and break into your house. Was that accurate?
Not quite exactly. They're a little bigger than that.
Don't be silly, Dennis. It was the zombie lady's cronies that were trying to get their revenge on Luke Rockhold. All right, well, before we talk about you and what's happening, obviously we've got to talk about currently you preparing your arguably best friend, Daniel Cormier, for the biggest fight of his life. I mean, what is the feeling like? We saw that viral photo of you, DC, Kane, back in the AKA gym. What is it like preparing DC for, I guess, his final ride while we're talking about Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a special time. It's a very strange time, but kind of the unity of the team and what we've built over the years and what we've done, creating, I believe, one of the best gym that's ever been, based off of us three, really kind of catapulted that place into what it was, and Khabib kind of brought it that much further. It's been an amazing time. It was really it was cool. DC luckily had finished a really nice workout gym at his house, and and obviously the isolation and what's going on, there wasn't a lot of options to train for such a big fight, and lucky he got that done, not unknowingly that this COVID was about to fall on us.
It's interesting. You guys are kind of looking at a big milestone and his last fight, a big last time that you guys can all come together and sort of prepare him for this big battle. But I'm just wondering, being around him and doing this camp with him and going into this last fight, does it make you think back to sort of some of the good memories that you guys have had in that gym over there at AKA, preparing DC and each other for some of those massive fights? Are there any sort of memories that stand out to you now that you're kind of towards the end of DC's run in the UFC?
You guys like your stories, don't you?
Story time with Luke Rockhold.
Hey, story time. It's always, the memories are always there, and me and DC and Kane, we always talk, and the rest of the guys, I've always even when I'm not there, I'm always involved and understood. So it's nice, it's nice to be there and see everybody and be a part of that all. It was a special time. Was it just DC had he put the bikes. You got the old bike night is probably the most infamous thing, and it's hard, but it's kind of what built us and made us what we are. It's I think everyone's kind of familiar with anybody in MMA, but we do like an Aerodyne bike circuit, so we all just beat the living crap out of each other. I think it's transformed a little bit, but those were some of the fondest memories are obviously the hard sparring and those bike nights. And remember me and DC were arguing over time, and Try to recall exactly the story for you. No, I'm going to avoid this story.
What a tease. But you didn't like DC originally. I remember you telling us once that he came in and he had his wrestling pedigree, and I believe your words were, "Who the fuck is this guy?" When did it sort of turn? When did you realize, like, you know what, he's actually a good dude? Was it the bike night? When was the turning point?
Oh, he's just like, I was a couple years into AK and Kane, and then DC came along, and you see a lot of like wrestlers come over. Dwayne Zinkin and Bob, they would recruit a bunch of wrestlers, and they thought they were obviously the pedigree would catapult them to being good fighters. Well, it wasn't always the case, and a lot of them would come in, but humbled, and I kind of forgot about my wrestling after a certain point after high school, and didn't follow it all that much. I do remember a little bit of DC when I was high school, but he came in and was just loudmouth, just fucking owning it, and I remember he was just instigating fights like right off the bat, like he'd been there for years. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I can't even fight. I want to see what's up. And I was like, I watched him later that night, some of his wrestling matches, and I familiarized myself with him. And I was actually, I kind of started to like him that night, just watching him, because I could see him. He was like fighting guys after his wrestling matches and getting real physical and just showing emotion. And I like people that have that in them. And I was like, I want to go with DC tomorrow. And they were already pretty high on him. And DC was, 260 at the time, something like that. I was 205 at my soaking wet at that time. So we went at it, and we had a good sparring match. And then I liked him even more. We beat the fucking crap out of each other. I kicked him in the head. He slammed me on my head, and went on and on. And then he started throwing punches when he couldn't do anything. So same for me. Then and there, I was like, I kind of like this guy.
Wow, unbelievable. I mean, let's talk about the fight that's coming up between him and Stipe. Obviously, he beat Stipe, and then he was winning that second fight until he got caught with some body shots. How do you kind of see this third fight going ahead of this weekend?
I think it's all about composure, and DC getting off, staying composed, staying relaxed, and adjusting. And that's what all title fights are. Title fights come down to adjustment and composure. And when you get the best two guys in the world that meet each other, you have to adjust. You have to see things, and you can't see red. You have to focus and relax through the process and calculate how to transition through what's happening. So Stipe was able to do that last time, and DC's got to keep a level head and focus on what he's best at, which is he's got so many more tools in the game, and he can wrestle better. He's better on top. He can kick. He can box. He can prove he can outbox him. Stipe just kept a level head and then adjusted when that was the big difference. So. I think DC brings more on the table. It's just the mindset.
It adds a level of tension. Like when you're a fan watching a fight with such high stakes, they've gone 1-1 each. As a fan, you get that feeling in your stomach, like, oh man, there's a lot on the line here. I can only imagine what it's like for you watching one of your best friends. But obviously, we got to mention there's been some headlines recently surrounding one Luke Rockhold. Ariel put out an article just, I believe, yesterday, saying that it looks like you are seriously considering a return to MMA, that you're officially not done with your career. We spoke to you about it some months ago. So I'm curious, is this the case? Where are you at with your MMA career at the moment?
I still want to fight. Being away, to give me a chance to clear my head and do the things I've always missed doing. Excuse me. But yeah, no, it's like I missed a lot of life. 15 years MMA and always like, getting ready for a fight and not being able to go here, travel there, and do what I want. It's always relying upon a training camp and what's this, and it's nice. It's nice to get away from it and just be able to go on my own and be free to do whatever I like to do at that time. So, still enjoying myself, still recovering and getting my body right too. There's injuries and things that have that stacked up over the years that I was compromised with, and it was about getting that right too. So I'm feeling better. I'm getting better, and I know I still have more in me. I just got to be focused without any outside pressure, any weight on my shoulders. Coming in there with all kinds of things that I allowed and took upon myself. I don't think helped the situation where I was at. So I'm gonna come back when I'm good and ready, and that will be sometime soon.
That will what? Sorry, Luke.
That'll be sometime soon. I imagine at the end of the year or early next year.
Oh wow!
Wow, I didn't expect it to be. Yeah, okay, so I guess we got to ask: Are there any? There's a lot to unpack. Are there any names that you've had in mind? I imagine if you're coming back that soon, maybe there's somebody on your mind. Who are you sort of looking at in the division?
I'm looking at whoever's available in the current climate of when I'm ready. Chris Weidman seems to think he's back in business. I beg to differ. So, he's always wanted to run it back, and I wouldn't mind sending him back.
You mentioned that he says he's back at business, and you beg to differ. What did you think of his return fight at middleweight last weekend? His performance?
Pathetic. Maybe he had weight issues or what is what. I mean, it looked like a heavyweight fight. Looked like a low level heavyweight fight. I don't know. I don't know. Didn't like it.
What is the?
You never know. It's a comeback. It's a weight issue. It's maybe he's got some issue, but nah. Look, it was bad.
What's the incentive for you to fight Weidman? Because obviously you beat him before, you beat him for the belt. And I know, like, we as fans of media, we've always sort of floated the idea of, like, doing that rematch. But I sometimes wonder, what is the incentive for you to fight a guy and beat a guy that you've already beaten?
To shut them up. I mean, what's worse than beating up a guy and he keeps running his mouth?
I mean, the fight, a lot of people online right now talking about how they would love to see that fight. I'm wondering, is he the only sort of person that you're looking at? Because there's another man in the division by the name of Anderson Silva who people are trying to figure out what is the next move for him. He's still around and people are excited to see how he finishes out his career. Is he somebody else who would interest you to be your return fighter, or is it really just Chris Weidman at this point that you're sort of looking at?
Anderson would be fun, but I don't think he really wants anything of this sort. He called me out when he was in the UFC, and I called him out, and he ran away. And then, even at this point, I don't think he still wants it. So, I put that fight in the hands of their team, and they've seemingly worked their way around it the best they can. Over the years, many years of it. So, I'm not gonna hold to it, but there's Darren Till. There's the grappler kid, the Norwegian kid. He looks good.
Hermansson.
There's Hermansson looks tough. I mean, I want somebody who means something, and it's a name meant to be. I left the division the number 2 ranked middleweight in the world, so they can say what they want because I'm unranked at the moment, but I can come back and reassert myself very quickly if I need to.
So I guess just speaking of Darren Till and the current crop of the division, what is, I suppose, the goal right now for you? Would you love to come back and make another run at the title, or is it a situation where you just want to sort of come back and have a bit of fun and be able to have a few fights and sort of enjoy yourself at this point?
I got a lot of fight left in me, and I want to fight.
Is it definite that you be coming back to middleweight? Because I know for a while you were sort of going back and forth between, which idea you would go back to. Is it definitely middleweight for you?
I think middleweight's more comfortable for me. Trying to bulk up and put all this extra weight, it's just not my style. I'm more of I rely on my fluidity and patience in fighting rather than forcing, muscling my way through a fight. So I think it's not exactly me at that weight. I got to control my weight. I got to get my weight right on my way down, and I think I'll be just fine when I get there.
I mean, obviously, we're excited at the possibility of you coming back, especially by the end of the year. But I wonder, what is sort of the biggest difference between, you know, your mindset now and the reason why you're so keen to come back, as opposed to, say, the Luke Rockhold from maybe, you know, 6 months ago, who, you know, speaking to you then, your mentality seemed very different on a return and how soon it would even be.
Well, the world is really fucking boring.
Yeah.
True.
And I want to bring some excitement to life.
I like it. See, that's just like a promo right there. People would just love to hear that. Let me ask you this, Luke. Since we're talking about the division, you did mention Darren Till before. Obviously, he had a pretty close fight with Robert Whittaker. Now Rob is going to be fighting Cannonier to potentially a rematch with Israel Adesanya. I'm just wondering, what did you think of Darren Till's performance? What did you think of how Robert Whittaker looked? Just your general thoughts on sort of the division right now.
They looked okay. They looked okay.
You feel I mean, it sounds like you're holding something back, Luke. Were you impressed by the way Darren Till looked against a guy like Robert Whittaker? And do you believe that Rob sort of looked as good as he did in the past when he was champ?
I don't think Rob looked like he was back in the day. I think Darren Till looked okay. I think he looked decent.
Because I was going to say, Luke, obviously, yeah, Rob is now fighting Jared Cannonier, and then a lot of people are sort of talking about, hey, you know, what would that rematch look like between Rob and Israel Adesanya if it happens, if he does beat Cannonier? I'm just wondering, if Rob does sort of make it back to Israel, do you imagine that rematch goes much differently?
Rob doesn't look like he's got the fire he once had. You got to find the fire. I mean, if he's going to go back and compete at that level.
Is Rob somebody that I guess interests you, like, because you guys were supposed to fight at UFC 221 in Perth? Is he sort of and we're not necessarily playing matchmaker here, but is he a guy that you think, you know what, that fight got away from me, didn't end up happening, I'd love to sort of, you know, prove something against a guy like Rob who's a former champion?
I'm not opposed to it. You know, I'm gonna let him go do his thing and see how he fares. Cannonier's got that dude's got fire in his blood. And so if Robert doesn't find that fucking fire, he's gonna fall short. So you know, I'm just looking at the division as a whole, and you gotta be ready, you gotta be fired up, you gotta be motivated. We'll see where he goes and what happens. But you know, I think I gave you my perspective on a few nice things I'd like to get my feet wet with.
Yeah. Well, have you contacted the UFC at all? Have there been any talks with the UFC about, you know, you potentially wanting to come back or them throwing any ideas out at you?
They want me to get healthy. And, you know, it's like as I get healthy, I get a little bit better and I see these guys coming along. I want to jump the gun, and I still have a little bit of time with my shoulder. I just had the shoulder surgery about 3 months ago. So I got to focus on some recovery and just and when I'm good and ready, when everything's 100% ready to go, full throttle, then we'll really lock something down.
Wow. How does the idea of Fight Island sound to you? You got all these people going to Abu Dhabi. It's quite the experience. How does that tickle?
It all sounds like shit.
Where would you fight then?
It all sounds like shit. I want the fucking arenas to be packed full, and I want to fucking go out there and I want to make some history. You know, it's like it's something about that adrenaline, stepping up in the moment. That's what fighting's all about. That's that feeling. That's the encouragement. You know, it's like this. It's not that encouraging to go fight in a fucking sparring match in front of nobody. It's pretty fucking I mean, it's just not fun to watch. You watch the fighters that you can't hear the energy of the fans. You can't hear. It's like. The world's fucking boring. I'm sick of it.
Would you fight in something like a Fight Island, or would you rather wait until things go back to normal?
I'd probably prefer the Fight Island. I mean, obviously, I'm not really keen on all the on the quarantine back and forth, but I'd probably prefer that over Vegas, fighting in fucking the UFC fucking tough gym, or whatever the fuck that is. It just sounds lame. It sounds really really lame. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be getting a taste of it this weekend at the Apex, where Daniel Cormier will be fighting Stipe in a smaller cage, sort of in front of nobody. So it will be a sort of a strange surrounding. Let me just quickly ask you one last question about the division, because I know people would love to hear your thoughts on this Israel Adesanya Paulo Costa fight, because we've had Dan Hardy on the show, and Dan was talking about how many more skills and weapons Adesanya has when it comes to this matchup. I'm just curious, what do you think of Paulo Costa? Do you think he might shock the world and sort of win this fight and become the champion?
I think he could easily do that. You have the bull and you have the matador, and Israel needs to use length to get the fuck away. That dude is Paulo Costa. He's got, he just comes forward fucking with everything he's got. But Adesanya, he moves real well, he evades well, and he tags well. So yeah, you never know. Anybody can be hurt.
We'll let you go in a sec, Luke. I'm just wondering though, when you do announce your official return, where will you be training? Because I know you've been training with I believe Sanford and the guys like Henry Hooft and a lot of champions there. But now you sort of seem like you're back at AKA. Where will you be training for your official return? I'm wondering how much your time at AKA now has had as far as influencing you to say, you know what, man, I just missed this too much. I need to come back.
No, I just miss California too much. The training in Florida with the team out there is amazing. The guys are awesome. It's just living in Florida. It's not me. And so I go back there. I'll be going back there specifically to train. I'll be training here. I'll train there. I'll train anywhere. I don't know. I'll do what I want. Do what I want when it feels right. That's as the key is being fucking, being comfortable in my surroundings and being motivated by what's around me. Not just the team, but this lifestyle too. It's like you get something about the California air and living here. It's Florida kind of brings me down. I don't know. It's too flat. It's too flat and it's too hot, especially depending on the times of year. You go there, training in the peak of summer. Isn't that fun?
Well, I'll tell you what, Luke, the women in California have missed you. And I mean, with this lockdown, when they need a little bit of Luke Rockhold in their life, and with the quiet times in the world of MMA, the fans need you in their life too. So everybody's excited to see you come back. But for now, guys, catch his friend and teammate Daniel Cormier fight this weekend at UFC 252 in his final fight. And of course, follow Luke on Instagram to keep an eye on all of his latest adventures at Luke Rockhold. The man is stopping burglars, riding bulls, featured in movies, representing Polo. He's all over the place. The Batman, the 007 of MMA. We appreciate your time, Luke. Thank you so much for joining us.
My guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Luke. Bye.